It's been 14 years since the birth of the Breaking Bad universe, and the final chapter has now been told with the finale of Better Call Saul. But did it succeed in wrapping up in a satisfying manner? I think it bloody well did. Not surprisingly, we got some final scenes with Mike, Chuck and Walt in some flashback scenes, and in both the Mike and the Walt scene, the subject of time machines is get brought up by Jimmy. And it's a fascinating question to ask someone because there's so many possibilities in the answer there that you can learn quite a lot about someone. And in both instances, we learned that Jimmy would go back in time for selfish reasons, one for rectifying a scam and the other for investing in Berkshire Hathaway and becoming a billionaire. And I really love the line when Walt tells Saul that, "So you're always like this," and seeing his face just drop like that I thought was expertly acted by Bob Odenkirk. And was a big smack of reality which you hadn't seen in such a long time. And it was also very interesting seeing the responses from Mike and Walt to this question, with Mike saying he'd go back to his first bribe and check up on some people, and then with Walt he responds aggressively to the question that he doesn't want to talk about the whole time travelling nonsense, he just wants to cut to the chase and talk about regrets. And he does mention one of his regrets about the company where he started with Gretchen and Elliot, and that he wishes he never left, and if he did never leave the company he would never have gone down this dark path that he did. I think it's always very intriguing learning of people's regrets because it's something very personal to them, and it's something where they've looked back on themselves and seen a wrongdoing. And then as shown here, it's interesting to see which ones people choose to speak about compared to others. And credit to the viewers who spotted the whole time machine talk has been teased before in season 6, with the H.G. Wells book The Time Machine being in a few episodes. To the scene with Chuck now, and I thought it was great to see one more scene with the brothers, as that whole relationship is the backbone of the show, because this is what helps Jimmy turn into Saul Goodman at the end of the day. And the line from Chuck where he says, "If you don't like where you're heading, there's no shame in going back and changing your path." I feel like this is exactly where Jimmy would go back to and actually listen to his brother's advice here, instead of just answering this question with another question saying, "When did you ever change your path?" But yeah, overall with the flashback scenes, I enjoyed each one of them, and it's great to see Jonathan Banks, Bryan Cranston and Michael McKean back in their respective roles for the final time. Now to the present day storyline, I thought it was quite poetic that the police found Gene in a bin, and I thought it was awesome seeing him emerge up from the bin with his hands up and just gunk dripping down him, as he really is in the shit now. And much how I love the scene where Kim's crying in the previous episode, I really enjoyed the scene here where Jimmy's actually laughing very sadistically in his prison cell. And as with these shows, everything is put in for a reason, and in the previous episode we did see an advert for Bill Oakley that he's now become a defense lawyer, and of course who appears in this episode? It is Bill Oakley. Jimmy calls him in, and then we get a long negotiation scene where we get a surprise appearance from Marie Schrader, which I was not expecting at all, but was a very welcome addition. Because when you look at the whole story, there's been two men with Howard and Hank who have left behind two widows, where in the last episode we got to see Kim go to Howard's, but we never got anything with Marie, so I thought it made perfect sense that she came in here. And in this scene we get to see Saul's expertise for the final time, and he thinks he has an ace up his sleeve as well, only to find out that that's already been revealed. In between the meeting and the court hearing, Saul teases that he's got more information to reveal that involves Kim as a way to get Kim to appear in court. And Kim does get word of it thanks to the blabbermouth that is Suzanne. And what follows is a very appropriate bait and switch by Saul, where we think he's going to say exactly what he said in the negotiations, but instead he actually confesses to everything he's done. And when you look back in the past to see how he used Chuck's death in court for his advantage, now we get to see the truth come out and that weight being lifted off this man who he rightly corrects the judge as being called James McGill. So Jimmy has gone back to his true identity, but before we get to the final scene of the show, we do get to see a little bit of the impact from his other two personas with the Better Call Saul chant from the inmates on the bus, as well as him working in the kitchen, which was very much like his everyday life as Gene working for Cinnabon. We then get one more conversation between Jimmy and Kim where they're sharing a cigarette, much like they did in the first episode of the very first season. It then shows Kim walking out the prison, and I thought the final scene was perfectly done with Kim looking over to Jimmy, who to me had that look of a ghostly figure, but shows that Jimmy has returned, and although he's locked up in prison, he has freed himself. And for me, this is a very satisfying end to the show and potentially the whole Breaking Bad universe. That is to say, they don't do any more shows in this universe, but the creative team Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould have said in the past that they'd happily explore Kim's story further and maybe do a Kim Wexler show in the future sometime. But is that something you'd like to see? Let me know in the comments below, and also let me know your favourite moments from the show overall. And keep an eye out, because very soon we will be releasing a video which compares the two shows, Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. Until then, if you want something else to watch, on screen is a recent review we did for a very popular Indian film called RRR, and whether or not you should check it out.